at vuc.me on the web. We would like to thank for their support Simwood.com. Simwood can turn you as a developer into a telco with their world-class API. Check that out, Simwood.com. Our hosted PBX is from onsip.com. The website is hosted at bluehost.com. And where would we be without zipdx.com, the full-featured HG Voice conference bridge? Local rate dial-ins from voxbone.com. Our next meetup in Europe is in Madrid, June 6th and 7th at TADhack. Go to tadhack.com to get the scoop on that. And while you're getting the scoop on that, I'm going to give you the scoop on this. This is VUC 489, although apparently it's actually 499. Did you know that, James?
No, I didn't know that. Why is it 499?
Because he said, as he was waiting for the president and CEO of IOTM, Mr. Jason Martin, to join us to talk about their launch of freeconference.co.uk. Because I apparently somewhere along the line I miscounted them because we didn't originally number them. You know, when you first get married, you don't know if it's going to work for 1 year or 35 years. So you maybe don't count the first few years. Anyway, we did not number them, and when I started numbering them, apparently I was wrong. There are only 300 and some weeks. If somebody's really good at math, how many weeks are there in 7 years? There would be about 360.
Yes, 365.
By my count.
If you did it every week.
Yeah.
Well, we do it every week. That is what you.
Well, not on Christmas Day though.
Well, we have actually on Christmas Day.
New Year's
But
Eve.
let's say anyway.
Not New Year's.
I think we have once or twice. You know, it's.
And what did you have in your stocking that year?
Yes, I had an Obi High that will allow me to use cheap Google Voice forever.
Forever, and I bet Michael had
forever
a
and a day. Anyway, what did happen was that we occasionally, Michael and I would either double book or we would have somebody so interesting we couldn't let them go, and we would have double sessions, double headers, as we say. So there are a bunch of those, and as a result, somehow, and I counted the files available on the server. So this isn't just some silly calculation I made. There are 512 files on the server, but more than 510, but 12 of them are hidden because they are duplicates, stuff where we would upload a file and it would be distorted or there'd be something wrong with it, and I would re-upload a file, so I would kill the original. I don't know if I'm making myself clear here, but the point is, this is actually 498, but we're calling it 489. We're stalling. You noticed, right?
So does that mean that TADhack is going to be 500?
I think it would. No, unfortunately, it's the one before TADhack that's going to be 500.
So it's be 501, as in Levi's.
Yeah, but also Ole, in his infinite wisdom, suggests that we really should be doing 512 as a celebration.
Huh?
512, 256, powers of 2. Right?
Oh, I thought it was going to be a SIP error message, but.
Well, maybe he meant that. I don't know. I saw it as powers of 2.
Yeah, who was on VUC 404? I wonder.
Why 404? Yeah. Oh, we could look it up. It's easy enough to do.
I believe that the guest didn't show. I believe the guest didn't show. It would be a guest not found.
Actually, well, that could be this one then. Actually, this is a record in that we're not talking about WebRTC, although IOTM's freeconference.co.uk is WebRTC if you're on your computer. So, as is everything else. Tim, are you not able to join us in video? You're in the car.
Did you send me an invite?
I did, but are you in IRC?
To where or how?
I'll mail you one in a second. Okay.
Okay, cool.
But you have some kind of weird. You actually have a lot of background noise. You have a fan on or something?
I have a garden and a motorway.
Oh, okay. So that's just garden. That's nice.
Yeah, Tweety bird noises in the background.
Yeah, well, that's great. Let's go for it. Okay, that email has gone out with the label subject HOA. We're also live. If you guys, anybody on ZipDX wants to check this out, we're live on Mixlr, mixlr.com/VoIP users. It's actually a pretty good MP3 stream. And I've lost the hangout. Oh, here it is. Okay. TADhack. Yes, let's talk about TADhack.
Let's talk about TADhack.
TADhack. Everybody say TADhack when I say 1, 2, 3, TADhack. Okay, 1, 2, 3, TADhack. There you go. So now we've successfully measured the lag in every participant.
TADhack.
Great, thank you.
Buffer blows.
Excellent. That's like that cartoon with the MSI, the Microsoft Explorer. What is it? Where they're all the logos are there, and they go, "What do we want?" Who are we? Web browsers. What do we want? Something. When do we want it? Web browsers. If you know what I'm talking about, you laughed. If you don't, I don't know how to tell you to look that up. One of those silly memes that transverses the internet. James, did Andy pass on my message to you that I'm looking for old SIM cards that
yes,
the SIMs are no good. You throw away the SIM and just give me the card so I can turn it into a pic.
And in fact, if I go over here,
you've got piles of them, I'm sure.
No, not that. Oh, here we go.
Bodie used to be able to do a complete hula skirt with SIM cards.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, is that enough for you?
That'd be perfect. Just throw the SIMs away and give me the cards.
Okay. Yeah, well, I was going to make jewelry with them, but... yeah.
Well, either way.
And these ones are suitably politically incorrect. We can't use them now.
I should check my mail. So, James, continuing the... I don't have anything from Jason. Continuing our discussion of Japan, mobile, and all that, I ended up renting a MiFi. So I figure that's covered.
Okay, what sort of MiFi is it?
Well, it's in Tokyo. It's delivered to you at the airport. You pick it up at the airport. So that can't not work. Plus, they told me that if the phone one doesn't work, you can. They claim I can return it, and only time used is billed.
That sounds like a pretty good deal.
Way too good, in fact, because I don't know why the MiFi is cheaper than the SIM for the Android phone. So go figure. The SIM can theoretically make phone calls, though, so maybe that's why.
Yeah, I did that. We got a SIM, but they were really specific about what device the SIM had to go into. They said, it's an iPhone you're going to put this into, isn't it? And I said, yes. And they said, fine, give me the iPhone. We actually had to hand over an iPhone, and they put the SIM in it. It worked fine and everything else, but they were very, very fussy about it being an iPhone.
That's when they put in the listening device that I've been talking about for the last couple of days, where even when the phone is off, they can listen to what you're saying.
Well, yeah, maybe. But that worked fine. I mean,
in Japan?
Yeah, in Japan. But the thing is, here's the really wacky thing. There is only one place you can do this. You have to do this at the airport. It's not legal to do this anywhere else other than the airport.
Right. They have laws like a lot of countries, even a lot of European countries have. In fact, Spain now has this law because I just rented a SIM. I actually bought a Spanish SIM. But you have to give me your passport and everything else in order to get to whatever you call it. What's the word for it? Authenticate? No. Activate. Thank you very much.
Yeah, you have to go through the know your customer piece. But wouldn't it be great if you could go somewhere and instead of having to go to a phone shop, you could just go to your handset, go to a little mobile-aware website and say, I want to buy 5 gigs worth of data using that local operator there, and you can just add that onto your phone. That would be really nice, wouldn't it?
Well, I think it would be even better if you had one SIM that worked in a couple of hundred countries.
Well, yeah,
Does
well,
that exist?
it would be on your one SIM, but it's having the ability to add a local deal from a local operator with possibly a local number. Anyway, that's by the by. Tim, have you put on a bit of weight, haven't you?
I have. It's the relaxing in the garden and doing very little is
so it looks like
probably not good for me.
You've put on as much weight as Ed Guy has lost.
I haven't seen it recently, so I can't quantify whether that's true or not.
Yeah, he's not quite a Jeff Pulver, but he's going that way.
Well,
it's scary.
I haven't seen Ed for ages, actually.
Oh, I've seen him since yesterday.
What country is he in?
Today, he's probably leaving Portugal to go back to the States.
What happened in Portugal that required the presence of about 25 of the most valuable TruePhone people?
I'd love to tell you, Randy.
But you can't, because we're live, public.
Because we're live and on the air.
All right.
Is it something that you're going to announce at TADhack?
Well, you'll just have to be there to find out. And you will be.
You will indeed. We were we were just trying to come up with. I was trying to come up with an application that uses as many of the APIs from as many of the sponsors as possible.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Do you know how much prize money there is?
Yeah, I do actually. It's $20,000 last time I looked, but
no, it's double that now.
Yeah, but it's spread very thinly. You can't get more than $1,000 as far as I can make out, which seems a bit less of a draw.
I don't think that's strictly true, though, Tim, is it? The prizes are split to each of the sponsors, so who they give them to, they can all give them to the same project if they want to.
Well, hence the strategy of putting as many APIs in the same project as possible.
Okay.
Yeah. Do you know how many entries there are now?
Is that like a RAID array? Is that like more likely to fail?
Well, it's the old shotgun approach, isn't it? Or fire a spread of torpedoes, and your chances of one hitting.
So look at it this way: if there are, which I think there are, 4 different suppliers of SMS capability, then you should use the one that isn't, whose APIs you're not using for something else. See what I mean? Just, spread the love around. That's my theory, anyway.
So what kind of things are we going to be looking forward to at TADhack for entries? Are any of them in yet, or are they submitted?
Well, the entries, the entry forms, a whole load of them. There are about 150 in now. Last time I talked to
what about
Alan.
the app,
So what I'm worried about is wear and tear on judges.
But those entry forms don't represent completed applications, do they?
No, but they're going to be the basis of the first level of filtering, because clearly the live presentations, we can't have 150 live presentations in one day, can we?
You could, if they were 1 minute long.
Oh, really? I probably better fill one of these forms out.
You had better, and quickly, and make a good job of it.
Oh, I'm going off this. I thought it was going to be a hackathon. Honestly, I thought it was going to be a hackathon where you rock up, you work hard for 24 hours, and that's it. Whereas this is now spreading out over a month. The rules keep changing, and it's just like, and I have to say now what I'm going to do in a month's time, in 3 weeks' time. It's crazy.
No, you have to say minutes before the entries close what you're going to do. So,
but the entries close before the hackathon starts.
That's true.
Which is like, I'm sorry, but that's completely and utterly nuts.
Well, it isn't utterly nuts.
Other kind of event.
No, Tim, it is not utterly nuts, because when you're doing a global event, there's no way we can bend the space-time continuum to be able to judge and display 180 different live presentations, is there? It cannot be done. So we have to...
I understand that, but then you shouldn't call it a hackathon.
I didn't call it a hackathon.
Well, it's called TADhack, and it's billed as a hackathon, I think.
Well, it's called a hackathon, but...
I mean, I'm just explaining that it isn't what I thought it was. It's not like any hackathon I've ever been to before.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Tim? You're getting quite militant in your old age. Some of your Twitter stuff recently has been interesting, hasn't it?
I must admit, when you're between jobs, you are very amusing, Tim.
Yeah, well, it's been entertaining. Though there is, I suppose, a risk that I could extend the between jobs indefinitely by annoying too many people. But
yeah, well, I think what we need to do is to sponsor you to go to ClueCon, if only to attack people.
When is ClueCon?
First week in August.
Hmm.
And then there's a TAD summit in Istanbul as well.
Now, Istanbul I'd quite like to go to. I'm not sure whether I need another TAD in my life at that point. But
when is that? When is that, Istanbul?
Oh, yes, very good question. I will check. I will come back to you in a second.
Stiff upper lip, what? Okay.
Go on, talk about yourself whilst I just manipulate.
All right, well, let's continue our discussion on Twitter of WebRTC. Whereas I see that not as a bikini, in fact, but as a new dance step that everybody's doing. So, I don't know, Tim, if you saw this, but I mentioned something about WebRTC, I think, or conference, and someone from the service at TringMe, whom I've known for years, and you maybe have too, pinged me saying, go take a look at our conference offering. And it is a WebRTC conference with audio and video, and no plugin required.
Okay, TADhack. It's the TAD Summit in Istanbul. It's the 12th and 13th of November.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that sounds quite attractive. Nice time of year.
Yes. Okay, James, we'll talk about the deal that we secretly were trying to... what's the right word?
Publicize.
No, to make, but there's a funny word for that when you're making a deal. To proctor, no, to whatever. For whatever reason, we were trying to concoct this agreement. That's a great thing. Let's get everybody there in November.
Yes.
Well, just don't call it a hackathon.
I'm a little afraid to go to Tokyo.
Behave yourself. We can call it whatever we want. We'll call it the TAD Let's Annoy Tim Summit or something like that.
Oh, that's too easy.
Hackathon. That's a good point, Andy. Let me do that. Let me try anyway. Let's see if we get Alan Quayle in the Hangout. It's a good point.
Yeah, I'm talking to him now.
You are? Well, get him in.
Yeah, I'll get him in.
Okay. You know, it's extremely rare. I'm not even sure it's ever happened that anybody has not shown up. So I don't know what happened to Jason, but he better have a death certificate handy for me to examine.
So you were talking about the a WebRTC conference call thing, another one.
Yes.
That's how this Twitter
the TringMe guys. Well, the TringMe guys pinged me, but the reality of this is, and you may not even know this, Tim, because you probably don't follow all these links, but there's 1,000 of these things out there now. Now that this is there, the code is there. All you have to do is go copy the JavaScript from somebody else, right? I mean, it's all out in the open.
Right.
So you really don't have to do anything except do the dressing of the look of the website to have your own live video conferencing system, and then yell that you don't have to have a plugin, which I find, that I love this stuff. So let me disqualify any meanness of any kind. I think this is fantastic. It's bleeding edge stuff, and I absolutely love it. And I think Jitsy's is huge. I love what they do, but the fact is that it's, the endless repetition of these iterations of the thing are killing it.
Well,
there's nothing new.
So I totally agree with you. I think we do not need another undifferentiated WebRTC conference. What I've seen though is I'm just starting to see some really interesting stuff of people narrowing down this. So I was at an event earlier in the week in London, and one of the guys was talking about his new app, and it was for coaching American football players. So he had a thing which would allow you to video edit plays and patch them together to teach your squad what the next move was going to be. And it had with it a WebRTC video element, so that you could talk with them whilst you were showing them the videos. But the point of this thing was to coach somebody about your American football play, not to have a generic conference. So what I thought was really interesting in was that the WebRTC element was, as Tom Howe would have said, a spice. It was an extra feature that made the thing work better, but it wasn't, the goal was to get your American football better rather than to have a conference call. So I thought that was really interesting, and I've seen 2 or 3 of those. There's another one which I loved, which was about interviewing coding candidates, where again, the main thing on it was a shared editor where you could set somebody a puzzle and you watch them solve that puzzle. But you also could watch them live with video. So you had a WebRTC video pane, and you could see their expressions as they were struggling over it. You could help them with it and this kind of stuff. And I've seen a number of those things where that's just emerging, and I think that's 110% more interesting than just another video conference. Because frankly, Hangouts does all of this as well as anybody else is ever likely to. So why would you attempt to compete with them unless you feel obliged to compete with Google? And so I totally agree with the idea that, but the good news is that the web developers are getting hold of it, starting to get hold of it, and starting to spread it out. So this guy was talking about this American football thing, and he was absolutely, basically he just said, well, like you said, I just grabbed the code, stuck it in, and it was great. But here's the thing, you can do this and this, but he wasn't talking about WebRTC. He was talking about the user experience. Mm-hmm. Talking about how we need to be able to freeze the play, but we need the video to keep moving, and this kind of talking about what the user wanted and how to make his app better, rather than the nuts and bolts of UDP packets and SDP and offer answer and all that crap.
Well, I think that what's been, hello Alan, by the way, we'll talk about TADhack a little bit in just a second, because apparently Jason Martin wasn't able to come for some reason, but we're happy to hear that. We'll all meet there soon. But just to continue on the thread here, Tim, yeah, I mean, first of all, no technology. I've got 2 hammers in this house. Maybe I think I have 3 hammers, right? But right now, each one is in a different drawer, and maybe one of them is over the neighbors. But none of them are doing anything. And I don't care how good the hammers are, they're not doing anything. I mean, they're of use to no one. So until the nail comes along that hammer is going to hit, why, I mean, I'm not all excited about having the hammer. Now, I do like, because of the kind of the position that I'm in and that we're in with the VUC, I love to have these gatherings where we bring you guys together who are working on WebRTC. But that's the meta, that's the thing about getting the people who are building the hammers, where one guy's going, yeah, well, we have this thing where the back part is curved and you can take a nail out, and then the other people have we made the head square so that it can do, and that's great. I think that's important. I think it's worth doing, but it is worth doing for the few hundred people and not the few million. The few million is going to be, as you said, where if somebody comes out with a football thing, or the Google Hangouts. I don't know if everyone has heard of Helpouts, for example, which is basically a one-to-one Google Hangout where it's just for teaching. So they have a couple of interesting additions to it, which is obviously scheduling. So you can look at someone's schedule, you can look at a teacher's or a mentor's schedule, you can ask for time that's available in that calendar, and so on. So it has all the little external parts of scheduling, but you're still just basically scheduling a video conference. The real value in this, though, is what are you doing with it? What are you telling me to hurry this up, James?
Well, Tim started it off, and he's got you going on about your hammers again.
Well, the point is that if the two of them
that was
do anything,
V467, wasn't it, or something like that? We had the hammers, and we got them back again.
Had the hammers?
Yeah, we've done the hammers before.
I don't think we had the hammers.
That's a good story, though.
All right. Anyway, point is, I think we're all in agreement on that. But it's important that the people who are doing this have a chance to talk too. Now, speaking of having a chance to talk with other developers, I see Alan has become, there he is, he's become a breathing, living human being. Alan, what's the latest on TADhack? We were just talking about it.
Yeah, how many entries now?
Yeah.
It's a bit crazy. We're over 250.
250?
Yeah. We have to thank Sri Lanka. There's Sri Lanka just passed 100 today, so there's a lot of interest coming in Sri Lanka. But they've been doing a very good job on all their webinars, and as you know, the Sri Lankan developer community is big, and the operators have been doing a good job in sharing the love with developers. And they've adopted like an NTT Docomo model where it's 90-10 split. That is, 90 goes to the developer. So you've got some developers in Sri Lanka that are earning like $25,000 a month.
Wow.
That's what we could hope to earn in a year. So they're creating a very vibrant community down there. But yeah, and again, it's amazing to see the ideas coming through. I mean, it was one of those, I've known Diggs for many years, and he asked if we could do a humanitarian theme, because he does a lot of work on Geeks Without Bounds. And it's some of the ideas coming through on the humanitarian side are great. So really looking forward to being able to just show all the cool stuff you can do by just adding real-time communications to your apps, services, business processes. We've got a whole range of satellites. Of course, we've got Sri Lanka, which is steaming along now. We've got Chicago, so Illinois Institute of Technology, the real-time labs there. So Carol and Warren are running an event there. I was just talking to them actually on a call just before James pinged me. And on Skype. Again, the power of real-time communications. You can be on one call and they get yanked over into another one. Also, we have Globe in the Philippines and Cellcom in Malaysia are both running satellites as well, and they've just started marketing to their developer communities, so we're seeing those guys come on board, and again coming in with some great ideas. Pune is plodding along nicely in adding on developers, and also there's the University of Juan Carlos, I think it is. It's up on the TADhack site. There we've got they're doing a pre-event on the 20th and 21st of May. And that's going to be helping educate their students, and they'll be joining the main event in Madrid. So it's going to be packed in Madrid. It's going to be packed in most of the other satellites. And I have to admit, when we were talking about this idea back in end of November in Bangkok, it was one of those where that sounds like a good idea, but I wasn't sure what engagement, how whether we could really sort of drive this forward. But here we are today, and I have to admit we've got an amazing cross section across the developer community, from the gurus of Tim Panton all the way through to basically newbies that are doing their degree and are excited to basically be entering the world of telecom. So it's great. We've got, I think, the whole diversity of developers in terms of both experience. I think bringing them together, I hope will create some great ideas and hacks at the event.
That's fantastic. And before James takes it over, let's ask if anybody on ZipDX or anyone anywhere has any questions. By the way, I've been remiss in watching IRC. Let me go over there right now. Jerry's asked, invite. Okay, I'll invite Jerry to the Hangout in the meantime. But anyone have any questions? ZipDX, you hit *6 to toggle your meet state. Yes, James, I'm sure you have a question. And Carl may have a question that he's going to save till later. All right. So while we're waiting for somebody to hit *6, James has a question, I think.
Yes, Alan. 250 is an enormous number. Tell me, how are we going to show off all of those entries to the world? And probably more important from a judging point of view, how are we going to judge them?
That's right. That is going to be a little bit of a problem. Fortunately, as I mentioned, Sri Lanka is a significant piece of that number. So they will be doing some down selection. So what we'll see coming from the Sri Lanka satellite is their, if you like, cut of what they think is the best. So what will happen is with some of the satellites, they're going to squeeze down, and if we have to run longer, we'll just run longer. It's as simple as that. So and the key thing, also an important point, and I raised it on the last emailer, is TADhack's more than just these 2 days, the 6th and 7th of June. We're trying to build an ecosystem, trying to build a community here. So over the summer, through into the autumn, we're going to be spotlighting the hacks that were generated. Not just the winners, everyone, in terms of how they used the technology, what they learned, the functions that they were trying to create, show the user experience that they built. So very much we're trying to sort of help all those developers share their experiences and promote themselves. And an important note, for those where it's relevant, is we do have quite a few telcos involved that are looking at these hacks to take them to market. So, of course, Truephone is in there. We have Cellcom. We have Telstra. We have US Cellular. We also have Mygar Telecom over in Hungary. And they're actually going to be exposing some of their live network capabilities. So we'll be able to hack on a real network as well. So it's great. We're really trying to bring as many show the variety of capabilities. And of course, we've got Google involved. We'll have Andre, one of the sort of core WebRTC developers on Chrome. He's going to be there helping people. So again, great diversity from the sort of traditional sort of telecom side all the way through to all the cool stuff that's happening on the web, to which, hey, it's what we're using today with Google Hangouts.
It's very exciting. I can't wait to get out to Madrid, Alan.
It's going to be fun.
Are we going to get some early visibility of some of these things? Because I've got a feeling that we've got quite a bit of work to do, haven't we? just to get through them.
Yeah, with the satellites, bear in mind, we're going to ask them to record the hacks. So the pitches, it's only 5 minutes you've got for the pitch, and I'm asking them to record. So we're going to take advantage of the fact of the Earth moving round as it's spinning around as it does, so that we'll be able to get sight of some of the stuff early to be able to review before it's broadcast. And also on the remote entries, because don't forget that you can hack from your own home as well. As soon as those entries come in, they can be reviewed by the judges as well. But I'm not publishing any of it because a developer puts a lot of time and thought into this, and they don't want to expose a good idea that then could get copied by other developers. So very much to the judges, of course, they'll be shared as soon as they're available. But in terms of broadcasts out, we're only going to do that basically through that allotted time.
Okay, and another question that Tim was asking was, what's the best way to go about entering if you have a bright idea?
Yeah, just register. You just go to basically TADhack.com, click on register, and then basically just register your name, register your idea, and that gets you basically involved. It's as simple as that.
Brilliant.
And if you check out the developer resources, so again, if you on the front page, but also if you click on Hackathon, you then click on the developer resources. You've got all the different platforms there, and those platforms are free. There's a lot of free stuff you can get access to. So Apri.io, they've got basically free tools you can access. There's a couple of free numbers you can get from Voxbone, and all the platform resources there are free, and there's communities behind them as well. And one of the things that I've been pushing...
It's worth entering just to get in order to get the free stuff. Might say.
Absolutely. Never mind the prize money, but it's also, I mean, really the bottom line is education and helping people understand just how easy it is to add comms to basically what you do, but also building that sense of community, because the key is it's bringing together those who are new to communications, those that are just entering into a telecoms career, as well as the gurus that have been at this for decades, and being able to show the power of just being able to share the ideas and the experiences across the ecosystem. Because, I mean, let's face it, you know, it's I guess, you know, and it was one of the drivers when we started off, TADS, is the fact that we've not really tried to build up this community you know, as broadly as possible. There's been pockets, don't get me wrong, and some amazing pockets, but really what we're trying to do is sort of, you know, take this to the next level and, you know, use the funding from all the sponsors to really start to accelerate and build this community around telecoms app development now that telecoms has become programmable, whether it's on the traditional PSTN or across the web.
Great. The other topic that we were talking about earlier is TAD Summit in Istanbul in November. Could you tell us a bit about that? Because we've been focused so much on Madrid. There's a TAD Summit coming up close behind.
Well, yes, 6 months afterwards. So, but absolutely, TAD Summit is more your traditional conference. So this is going to be bringing all members of the ecosystem, because with TADhack we are squarely focused on developers. That's it, and building the community there. And then within TAD Summit, it's far more the platform providers, telcos, and of course the developers, and we'll be showcasing some of the winners and their progress since TADhack at TAD Summit. So we'll be doing that. I mean, I'll be honest with you, TADhack's ended up being far bigger than I thought it was going to be, so I'm just swamped. I mean, it's every morning there's basically, you know, a lot of emails basically that were, you know, have to be managed with respect to TADhack before we can move on to you know, my day-to-day job. So I'm hoping is that the work that we're doing here on TADhack will generate broad industry awareness and provide a great platform upon which we can put together, I think, some very interesting topics and discussion areas within TAD Summit. Because I circulated amongst the sponsors of TAD Summit last year the feedback we got. So we'll be putting together quite a unique agenda, and we'll be talking about that shortly after TADhack. So thanks for that question, James.
Great. Has Randy disappeared? If Randy's disappeared,
I'm here, and I've just changed. Look at my eyes. Wow.
Gary.
There we go. Wanted to ask if anybody else had any questions on ZipDX or anyplace else about TADhack. If you're in range of Madrid, we can probably arrange to get you in if you would like.
Absolutely, Randy's got the connections.
Tim has a question.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a question. I'm just to be fair, Alan. I was griping before you came on that it's morphed into something that's less focused in time than a traditional hackathon, and that's slightly thrown me. I had kind of mentally allocated a couple of days to do a serious, you know, head-down hack in those couple of days, and now I find that actually everyone else is going to spend a month on their hacks. And this makes I can't afford to put a month in, you know?
Tim, come on. 2 days of your time is most probably equivalent to 2 years of a lot of other people's time thinking about this. So you can't gripe about that, seriously, Tim.
So I'm my only issue is I think if you do it again, you should not maybe call it a hackathon.
Yeah.
Because there's a very much a sense of that being over, you know, a day or two.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Yeah, you're probably right, Tim. When you say hackathon, most people have got a preconceived concept of what a hackathon is, and this is clearly bigger, much bigger than a hackathon.
Well, I mean, I think that's right, and I think it doesn't do justice. I think the hackathon tag doesn't do justice to your aspirations of continuing it afterwards, for example.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think it's. I suspect that Well, you may disagree, but I feel like it's evolved as you've been planning it, and as things have been happening, and maybe the original concept hackathon was a better label than it maybe is now.
I think you're probably right, Tim. I think who could have forecast the level of interest and success that's going on here?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's great.
But also, I mean, I take to heart what you're saying, Tim, because it has evolved. And one of the things that we're doing on the Sunday after the event is that drains up review to understand, how we take it forward. Given what we've learned, because this is something that we kicked off, back in as an idea, back in the end of November, and it wasn't until really end of January, that things really got moving. Given the holidays and just how it is, time to get the idea motoring. So it is something that's rapidly morphed. And to be honest, I'm not trying to sort of say here's the vision and we just execute on the vision. It's very much we've been open to new ideas, bringing in the satellites, basically being flexible to developers and their needs, allowing remote entry. So it's one that definitely we've tried to be flexible to everybody that's been involved. And you're right, it has transformed itself. I'm not sure what the right label is, but hey, maybe we need to create a new label. But again, Tim, I'm open to all advice and help you can provide.
Yeah, no, I just I was slightly my planning is slightly thrown out by it, but that's fine.
I'm whinging over nothing, as I said, Tim. 2 days of your time is the equivalent of 2 years for a lot of people. So in this area, because you're one of the gurus.
Pretty good answer.
Yeah, you've got a bit of competition this time, Tim. So you're going to have. But I'll tell you what, those people who do win prizes at TADhack are going to be held in pretty high regard, because the competition is going to be so superb, I think.
Do we know what kinds of things people are submitting?
Yep. Not everybody's entering the details, but it is a very broad range of, as I said, some people have got very specific service ideas. So, for example, using messaging to support particular payment services or particular business processes. Some, as I mentioned around some of the humanitarian ideas. So it really, I mean, it's the breadth has been surprising. A lot around CRM. There's quite a lot about mashing together WebRTC and telco APIs, so that you have both the ubiquity of sort of phone communication, but also the free and all the great features and functions you get in using WebRTC. So I'd say there's some of the sort of broad themes. I don't want to sort of delve down and share specific hacks and service ideas, because that's very much a sort of want to keep them for each of the developers so that they don't get copied.
Sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, another thing that potentially excites me is the possibility of taking different entries and mashing them together as composite teams.
Yep.
People who would never have worked together or met before, and perhaps we can introduce them, push them together. A bit like on not Britain's Got Talent, the other one, the show with. No, definitely not. The one with Simon Cowell, anyway, where they have promising solo artists, and they put them together to make a dream band, and then they do extremely well. So there's the potential to do that sort of match made in heaven type matchmaking.
Who knows? That's an interesting idea.
It is, isn't it?
I wonder if anybody's going to do a WebRTC-based ATM.
ATM.
Well, that was a question. Yes.
So what does it do? Print out your banknotes for you?
No. It allows you to have sort of talk to a teller if you actually need to talk to a teller, and it leverages the security that's inbuilt in WebRTC to do its routine transactions.
That's actually an interesting idea, Michael, because banking would be a very good application for that.
Bank of America has stations where you get a video conference with.
Yeah, and banks have gone to some difficulty to do this sort of thing. But
Ken is mentioning in RC, maybe that was him speaking just now.
That was.
Yeah. So you heard of this too? What'd you hear?
I've heard of people working on stuff like this for banking and for medical.
Medical's
where you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, but telemedicine is well established.
Walk up to but in banking, where you can walk up to an ATM or whatever, if you need help, you hit a button, and it goes WebRTCs back to the call center to find you an agent.
Yeah, Jakub had a nice one at Astricon along those lines, but it was for it was to allow small town halls to have somebody who could speak sign language, so that instead of having necessarily to have to hire somebody on site, you could just put up a reasonably large tablet, and people could then exchange sign language with somebody who was a central resource. So I thought it was quite an interesting idea. It's just like, again, using the high quality video to do that. Whether they were actually using WebRTC or not, I don't know. But it was just like, it's kind of classic telephony of being able to leverage a resource that wasn't physically present.
What do we know about Mayday and how it's doing, by the way? Does anybody have any comments on that at all? Because that's an interesting, and we don't care whether it's WebRTC or not, but this idea...
Did you say Mayday as in...
Mayday as in Amazon Mayday.
Oh.
The Amazon Tablet's Mayday function has been proven to be WebRTC based.
Okay.
But the operator, you see the operator, but the operator doesn't see you. They see your tablet, and they have sort of a remote control capability of the tablet.
That's interesting. Any echoes on whether that has worked or done anything for anybody, or is it just a gimmick, or what?
Anybody have one of those tablets? To see the economics of it, but I guess we never will.
No, but I was just curious if there was even any anecdotal comments of any kind. I mean, I've never been on one. I'm trying to even think, we've had click-to-call forever, literally, right? And I'm trying to remember, I don't think I've ever, I just saw not a day ago, I was on some site that said, if you need help, click here and we'll call you back. I've never done that, and I don't know how successful those are, let alone whether it's WebRTC or not.
Well, I can tell you this now, but I don't know if you remember, but years ago I ran this phone from here startup.
Absolutely.
And that was trying to do, essentially, for one of the sites we had an 0800 number, and next to it we had a button which would allow users to speak for free using the embedded voice in the website. And it worked reasonably well, and we had a few users, but the statistics of it were that virtually no one used it. When faced with the option of dialing an 0800 number or pressing the button, almost everyone chose to use the 800 number. And because actually, when you think about it, there was no real user benefit for them of them using the button. So that, you actually have to provide, in my view, you have to provide a real user benefit. And with Mayday, the real user benefit is that they can see your screen. And in fact, I don't know if this is true on Mayday, but on some of the Mayday-like things, they can draw on it. They can say, click here and draw a circle around the thing. I don't know if you were, I don't think you were there actually, Alan, or maybe you were. NTT has one of these for putting together your set-top box, which you ring support and say, my set-top box is, I can't get this to work, and you show them the thing. Anyway, so my point is that unless there's a real user benefit, people don't use these things. So, but in that process, we went and talked to a bank about doing this, and they ran an absolute mile. They took me to one side and said, listen, this is a lovely idea, but here's the brutal fact of it. It costs us, I think he said it costs us, to process a transaction on the web, it costs us 10 pennies. To process a transaction by phone, it costs us about £1. To process a transaction, if you walk into a branch, it costs us about £10. So there's and if you video conference, you're probably more expensive than the phone, but probably less expensive than actually maintaining the branch. So from their point of view, they're not interested. What they want to try and do is drive that down to automation on the web. And it's only things that are frankly, they're worth £2 to them, customers who transactions that are worth £2 to them, that they would even contemplate doing a video call. So I think the economics of it is quite complicated.
What about high value stuff? Like, what about if you've logged into your bank's website and you're looking at your investment account, and you'd like to talk to a consultant, and you're already paying them, then to do a click to call that's already wrapped in that context and that has that sort of knowledge worker at the other end. It seems to me that would be quite useful.
So the places where we found that people were interested was where there was they were about to lose a sale, and in order to capture the sale, they either had to convince the customer or something, or in some cases, and I think these were the most interesting ones, they had a legal obligation to consult with the customer before they could proceed. So there are certain transactions that you can't do without consulting without giving the customer advice, or informing them of the risks they're running, or whatever it is. And those transactions are probably better done as part of something like WebRTC or potentially over the phone. But as you say, Michael, that you can tie it into the context of the page and say, well, this investment here, and then draw around it is risky, but these 5 aren't.
Let me call up this chart of performance over the last quarter or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
But you really are. You're then talking about the from the bank's point of view, the saving is only really to do with the fact that they don't have to maintain premises. Because in terms of the assistant, the advisor's time, that's no different from you showing up for an appointment. It may be fractionally more convenient for you, but their cost base is pretty similar, because they still have to have the knowledge worker. So what I'm seeing is actually that where this works is not in big companies, but it works for high-value professionals in smaller organizations, where what they're essentially selling is themselves. So people who I came across one the other day who's a yoga teacher, who does WebRTC yoga sessions, so that you and they don't actually have to physically travel to the same thing. You can both be in your, Soho apartments or whatever, and get your yoga session via WebRTC, and that saves everybody time and money. So I think those high-value professionals in smaller, more fleet organizations are the kind of initial round of people taking this up, I think, and where the value is.
The way our ISP works, if you have a problem with them, of course, you think about it. If you're disconnected from the internet, you have to connect on some other channel. In other words, you have to have another access, like a free Wi-Fi access or whatever. But anyway, when you go to their website and you have a choice, you can say what the state the router is in, and assuming you have no internet, blah blah blah, and then it asks you what's shown on the router. And if the router is in step 3, for example, which is maybe waiting for DHCP or whatever, they send a test out, automated test out to the router, to your line, and so on, like people will do when you're talking to them. And eventually you get to a point where either they create a ticket, or they say, oh, you know what, you're in some state that we can't create a ticket for, call 3344, whatever the exact number is. It's a 4-digit number. It's a free call, but they don't yet have a click here to call. And of course, if you click there to call, you're on some other internet connectivity anyway. You're like maybe on your mobile phone or whatever. So it's one of those cases where the only other thing that would be more convenient would be for them to call you back. But since the call is free anyway, you call them, and then you have to give them a couple of numbers. You have to give them a customer number and a PIN, and that's all obviously just to fill up the time, so that people aren't stacked up too closely.
Anyway. That kind of app is actually, I was telling Alan this the other day, that kind of app is how I got into telephony in the first place. I was doing a security app for a financial information company, and they had field service engineers who needed to go out, and they wanted to get one-time passwords to access the boxes that were in data centers. But one of the things the boxes could be doing is they could have a dead network card, or the network could be down. So you couldn't issue the one-time passwords over the network. So they wanted to issue it over a completely different channel, i.e. telephony. So here was I, a web security guy, being asked to do a telephone app. Just like, oh no, how do I do it? What do I do? And that's how I kind of got into it. So that's a very long time ago. And probably just about when Asterisk was being built in the first place. Wow. But I didn't use Asterisk the first time.
Yeah, it was tricky in those days. You had to wind the handle as well, didn't you, Tim?
Well, I do remember my most vivid memory of this was picking up the Dialogic D300 card, which was capable of running 32 phone calls simultaneously. And it was about as big as my laptop is now. And it had, I think, 5 Intel processors on it. So it was smarter than my computer by a long way, and it cost more than my car. So I remember putting it in the boot of the car and thinking, this card, which probably costs, I don't know, £5,000 or something, was worth more than my car, and thinking I probably better not run into anything. And I sold it. I sold it. After about 7 years, when that project finished and they stopped paying maintenance, I sold this D300 card second-hand, and with the money I'd got, I bought an equivalent card from Digium, which did exactly the same thing, and it was 1/10 the price and 1/10 the size.
Time, huh?
Exactly, time. But wow. Yes, so it's kind of fun. I suppose the point about this is that it's really nice to have gone from the web into telephony, and now we're back in the web again, which is kind of I'm enjoying.
Well, there's a lot going on, and with WebRTC and the whole web thing and all of that, and the Internet of Things. We got Jerry with us, by the way, who may want to make a comment on where all that's going. He's been working hard. I just got an email from Jason saying, I'm sorry, he has a flight or something and couldn't make the call. I think we won't be rescheduling, though, because I don't see the point of that. But I'm sorry that he couldn't make it, since we went through the whole process of saying who he was and who they are and their product and blah blah blah.
And we even went as far as reviewing it, didn't we? We gave it a go.
Well, I took a look at it. It's absolutely of no interest to me. So hey, if you're interested, go to WebRTC.co.uk. You won't find anything. Go to free
TADhack.
conference. Yeah. Go to TADhack.com. No, go to freeconference.co.uk, and you can find out what IOTM is doing with their free conference in the UK. Free not being the key word, actually, but regardless, you can go there. Next week we'll be talking to Logitech. Let's get another look at this camera, Michael, if you're available. Please come in some place.
I'm here. I'm just.
Next week we're going to be talking to. I think Ziva is going to be with us, right? She's going to be the one talking.
I guess. I just pushed the camera outside. I wanted to see how it reacted to the outdoors. Let's see.
Trouble with these things is that I see one thing, but everybody else probably sees another thing. So, and the recording thing that's going to go on YouTube is seeing yet another thing.
Oh, does it? How's that?
Well, it sees, we all see different things based on our bandwidth, is my point.
Oh, okay.
So it'll be interesting to look at the YouTube of it.
Here's the thing.
I'm going to freeze it on you, so go ahead and let's talk about I didn't do it yet.
You're looking at my backyard now, and
You need to trim that line over on the left.
You notice there's not a lot of grass, and this is because the centerpiece of the backyard is a pecan tree. Pecan droppings, whether it be in the spring or in the fall in the leaves, they are very acidic, and they do this as a protective mechanism. They kill off anything that's underneath them by acidifying the surrounding soil. In any event, you're looking at the backyard, which is not all that amusing, but the range on this camera is really, the zoom range is really quite impressive.
And for whatever reason, the combination of hardware and software, I'm seeing HD over on the, at least the Hangout is receiving HD. Well, it just went off, interestingly enough, but
yeah,
it's still good. Fine here. Still fine here.
So the camera is, I mean, it's doing an amazingly good job of dealing with a bright, sunny day that is not a boardroom, right? And that's some of the common problems of webcams is that they oftentimes have very bad color issues. In fact, I just ordered since that Amazon is having that promotion on webcams, I just ordered literally 3 more. And
only 3.
Well, I didn't have the Microsoft one, and I intend to have sort of one of every the top of the range Logitech ones. But in any event, it's doing a good job. And if I flip the one issue I have is I've now got it sort of pointed in an obtuse direction, and I'd like to because it's an IR.
Do the extreme zoom trick.
Well, it's an IR remote, so if you get sort of away from the front of the thing, you don't get. Here, let's do that.
What's on the barbecue?
Nothing right now, but later on there will be.
Well, we should be doing this later on.
So the extreme zoom looks like. See if I can get out of the way of this small Japanese kite behind me here.
Is this Carl Zeiss optics? Or
yes.
Carl Pfeiffer optics?
Carl Pfeiffer optics. No. That's where all the lines get bent.
Carl Pfeiffer optics.
So the zoom is...
It's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is. It's very good.
That camera is outside.
There's 26 feet between the object that it's looking at and where it is.
You ought to be careful. You could get yourself arrested with that if you leave that camera outside.
Yeah.
You have to be very careful where you point it.
So VUC 490 next week officially is going to be about this CC3300E, which is it's not just a camera, it actually has a USB hub and a bunch of other stuff. We don't need to go into detail now, but we will be going into detail next week. So if you're listening and you would like to know more about this, I think it's well worth checking us out next week, 12 noon Eastern Time, 5 o'clock British Summer Time, 6 o'clock here in I was going to say Eastern Europe, but it's only Central Europe, daylight time.
I thought you were going to say we're going to do a 3-continent barbecue for a minute there.
It would be nice if we could do the barbecue.
Well, we could do that.
Well,
I would plan
we should do that on 500.
Plan to grill some lunch or something.
Yeah, 500. VUC 500, the 24-hour, the VoIP-a-thon.
Yeah. Michael, you mentioned that the Logitech C920s are on sale on Amazon.
Yes.
In UK, they're £52.48. How does that compare with the US price? Just out of interest.
$55.99 US.
Crikey, that is quite a bit cheaper. But then you're going to have some form of sales tax on that, I guess.
We do now, although that's a relatively recent thing in Amazon land. They've only been charging sales tax for less than 6 months.
And what sort of rate is that in your state?
Coming into Houston City, it'll be 8%.
Okay, but it's still quite a bit cheaper. Interesting.
Yeah.
Here I've got the 920. Here on Amazon France, 920 is at $69.99.
It's about the same sort of price, and that's including tax, isn't it?
It is.
Now the difference, the 910 and the 920 are the same optics. The 920 has the H.264 encoder in it, but they are otherwise identical. The 930 is sort of one step newer. It's capable of H.264 SVC. Okay.
In your opinion, Michael, which is the one to go for?
I think the 930s runs around $100 or $110 street price here.
And it's 100 euros here.
Yeah. Unless you know you've got an app that's going to take advantage of the SVC capability, there's no reason to spend the extra money. The 920 is quite fine.
So 920, it's 70 euros.
But the actual reason why I bought one of each is because I want to compare the lenses on them because they have different fields of view. I think the 920 is the one that Google is shipping with the Chrome box for meetings. And the question is, is the field of view appropriate for that application? Like the camera you're seeing right now is the conference cam, which has a very different field of view again, and a different zoom range. So that's what I want to compare.
Yeah, interesting. Just looking at this, the C920 is discounted by 42% here in the UK. It was £90. It's now 52. So that's interesting as well. Does this indicate possibly that there's a new model on the way in? I wonder.
Yes, I would expect so, because we heard from the Vadio folks back in January that by summertime we're expecting a new wave of USB 3 capable webcams.
So for those of us with brand spanking new MacBook Airs with USB 3, that may be a better bet, possibly.
Well, I doubt it. I doubt that it's going to matter for most people, and the reason is, unless you're getting a 4K webcam, why do you need the extra bandwidth?
Yeah.
Let's go back. So that's a 920 right there. And they work fine.
We're looking at a 920 right now?
This is a 920 I have selected, yes.
See that all around. I think
you are a man of many cameras, clearly.
He is a man of many cameras. I think I've got the 910. I don't have any use for it anymore because, well, I travel with the conference cam now when I take my MacBook Air out. And that works really well in a situation where you're trying to film a conference. Where you're trying to stream live. I streamed live at Camaillo World, for example, and I had that with me, and I had a line in from the PA system. And that's the key of what I haven't had before. So we had the audio of the presenters with their mics, their wireless mics and so on, and that made a huge difference. Then as soon as we had the audio feed, the video had no problem at all. It was just fine. But
Tim's video is extraordinarily good today.
MacBook Air, isn't it, Tim?
Well, it's not the
mobile. It's a 13-inch Retina MacBook.
Okay.
Oh, right.
Well, that's still a real computer rather than being on a Nexus 7 or something.
It's a real, yes, exactly. It's neither Nexus 7 nor is it an iPod Touch. But the MacBook's down to 17% battery, so not going to be for a lot longer.
Okay. Well, we're going to cut off here anyway pretty soon because the guest didn't show up, which is fine. We had a nice little discussion between us. We can always find things to talk about between us. We had a little TADhack update, TADhack, TADhack.com if you want to know more about that. This is the meeting to come and meet a lot of us who are on this thing today, right now, in Madrid. We don't have that many opportunities to meet up in Europe, and Camaillo World was fabulous. It's just great, and Berlin's an interesting place to be. Madrid is also a very interesting place to be. You'll be able to meet a lot of the people. Well, Bob won't be there, but you can do without meeting Bob. And Michael would have been great to have him. Well, would have been great to have Bob and Michael. Maybe we can ship you guys over in a container or something.
Yeah.
And then we'll ship you back frozen.
Andy's going to be there.
Andy's going to be there.
And Tim's going to be there.
Alan is there. Andy is there. Tim is there. James is there. I'm there. And a bunch of people, one or more of the people who were on last week with the WebRTC book are coming. I think Lorenzo actually is coming, right?
Well, that's good news. Lorenzo is an extremely interesting person.
These people are great. I mean, it's really fun to talk to them. They speak excellent English, so there's no problem there, no awkwardness there. And there's a whole bunch of other people coming from a lot of other places.
Do we know if Diggs is coming?
Diggs? I don't know. Is he coming, Diggs? Alan? He's not coming to Madrid, is he? You're muted. Watch out.
Diggs will be there.
Okay, Diggs will be there, so I'll be able to finally meet Diggs.
For a while. So actually, Randy, have you met Diggs?
No, I never have. I have not had the pleasure.
You two bring a guitar. You two can jam.
Yeah. Well, I won't be bringing a guitar, but we certainly could jam. Maybe we can borrow one from the hotel or something.
Cool.
Great. All right. Well, let's cut the live part of this off. We've been going for pretty much an hour. I'm sorry to say that IOTM blew it. They're not going to be back, but we will be back with TADhack very soon, and we have that live thing June 6th. So thanks, Alan, for popping in.
No problem at all, Randy. Thanks a lot.
Pleasure to see you, and thanks to all the regulars. We'll stop the broadcast, and we'll continue with the mature audiences only version. Thank you, everybody. Bye.